It gives me great pleasure now to introduce today's commencement speaker and a distinguished alumnus of Chadron State, Randy Bauer. Randy is a member of the Chadron community who has given me and others at Chadron State incredible assistance throughout his professional career. Chadron State recognized Randy Bauer's success in fall of 2006 by naming him one of its Distinguished Alumni Award recipients. The award is well-deserved. Randy continues to work tirelessly to advance Chadron State College, its foundation, and its athletic programs. This fall, he wrapped up his term as chairman of the Chadron State Foundation's Board of Directors, and currently he heads the nominating committee. Randy and his wife, Lori, were gracious enough to agree to co-chair Chadron State's first comprehensive fundraising campaign called Vision 2011. His remarkable leadership is making this campaign a success and positioning Chadron State for a remarkable second century of service. Through this campaign effort, I've had the pleasure of working with Randy to recruit alums and friends from across the nation to support and advise us on the campaign. Randy's roots at Chadron State run deep. He was outstanding as a student and as a member of the football team while attending Chadron State in the early 1970s. After graduating in 1974, Randy became Chadron State's Director of Admissions, a position he held for 9 years. Randy was also the color commentator on the radio broadcasts for Chadron State College football for 16 years. And he's currently the president of the Eagles Booster Club. And more remarkably still is that he has served in that role for more than 20 years. Randy has been a State Farm insurance agent in Chadron for more than a quarter of a century. He's been recognized for his professional excellence with the National Quality Award from the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors 10 times. In addition to everything else he has done and does in service to the community of Chadron and Chadron State College, Randy served on the Chadron Civil Service Commission, is active in the Chadron Rotary Club, Boy Scouts of America, and at St. Patrick's Church. It gives me great pleasure to introduce someone I consider a great friend and one of Chadron State College's greatest supporters, Randy Bauer.
President Park, Board of Trustees Chairman Tion, Trustee Bagansky, distinguished members of the college faculty, family and friends, and most importantly, Chadron State College graduates of 2009. It is certainly an honor and a privilege for me to have the opportunity to visit with you tonight. Graduates, tonight is your night. This is your special day. The reason we are gathered here tonight is to recognize your hard work and sacrifice of time and treasure and celebrate your graduation with you. Please allow me one personal note. I never imagined after being neighbors all these years that I would be speaking at little Katie Cleveland's college graduation. Congratulations, Kate. You each have your own story of how you reached this point in your life. Most of you had major support and encouragement from your family and friends during this journey. And many of those special people are here tonight to enjoy this moment with you. I always appreciate the way Dr. Park recognizes those people at this ceremony. But some of you made this journey largely on your own. For various reasons, you had to overcome financial, physical, or social barriers to earn your college degree. We particularly honor your accomplishments tonight. It is my privilege to be among the first to congratulate all of you graduates on a job well done. But just who is the graduating class of December 2009? Terry Dawson, Chadron State's Institutional Research Officer, was kind enough to provide me with some demographics. First of all, you have the distinction of being the final graduating class of the first decade of the 2000s. It is hard to believe we are reaching the end of the first 10 years of the 21st century. There are 183 candidates for graduation, although not all graduates are participating in this ceremony. 132 of you are receiving undergraduate degrees, 51 are receiving graduate degrees. The majority of this class is female, 111 compared to 72 males. This graduating class comes from 20 different states and 3 countries. The homes you come from are as close as 1 block from campus and as far as over 9,000 miles. Talk about a road trip. Approximately 1/3 of you came from high school classes of less than 100, and only a few had graduating high school classes of more than 500. Another 1/3 of you transferred credit from other colleges to CSC. You are receiving degrees in 26 different academic programs. Some of you kept the same major you declared your first day on campus, while others struggled to, well, let's just say you took a little more adventurous route in choosing your academic program of study. And finally, a statistic that always amazes me, because this part of your identity as a graduating class is very typical of most CSC graduating classes. A little more than half of you are the first generation in your family to graduate from college with a baccalaureate degree. I think this statistic, more than anything, defines the mission and value of Chadron State College. In so many ways, this college is serving students in ways no other college can. So then, this is a little bit about who you are as the December graduating class of 2009. Tonight, you each take on a new title that will unite you as one for the rest of your lives. Tonight, you become a Chadron State College alum. For the past 6 years, I have had the privilege to serve on the board of directors of the Chadron State Foundation. In this role, I have learned much about who a CSC alumni is. I would like to share with you some of what I have learned. I want you to appreciate how proud you can be of that new title you worked so hard to earn. So who are you now that you are a Chadron State grad? You are Walt Riemann, a 1987 CSC graduate from Upton, Wyoming. After graduating from Chadron State with an accounting degree, Walt went on to earn his law degree from Ohio State University. He eventually became the executive vice president and general counsel for Adams Laboratories, a major pharmaceutical company. You may not have heard of this company before, but you will recognize its very successful cold medication, Mucinex. You know, the commercials with those cartoon mucus characters? Anyway, some time ago, Adams Laboratory had a legal dispute with another company which required a series of meetings with the attorneys of both companies. Each time they met, the attorneys from the other company would proudly display their leather-bound folders showing they were graduates of Harvard. After one of their meetings, the CEO of Adams Laboratories asked Walt where he had graduated from. Walt explained to him that he received his law degree from Ohio State, but his allegiance was to the school from which he earned his undergraduate degree, Chadron State College. The next day, when Walt walked into their conference room, the Harvard folders were displayed as usual. But then he noticed, placed on his side of the table, at each seat of his team of lawyers, were 6 folders proudly displaying the name of Chadron State College. Walt later found out his CEO had called the Chadron State bookstore and had them ship the folders overnight to his company. Walt's CEO was amused. The person at the bookstore was concerned that the shipping cost would be more than the cost of the folders themselves. This story has always struck me as the ultimate testimony of how well our graduates compete with graduates from even the most prestigious universities. Now that you are a CSC alum, who are you? You are Gretchen Glody Berggren. Dr. Berggren is a 1951 graduate of Chadron High School and a 1954 Chadron State College graduate. The following fall, she began her studies at the University of Nebraska College of Medicine as the only female member of that class. According to Con Marshall, the former longtime director of information at CSC, Gretchen is most likely the first female graduate of Chadron State to become a medical doctor. Gretchen and her husband, one of her medical school classmates, Warren Berggren, shared a calling to serve as medical missionaries. They worked side by side throughout their careers, which began in what was then called the Belgian Congo. At one point, they were caught up in the midst of a revolution and had to be helicoptered to safety. In addition to continuous service throughout the Third World, from Afghanistan to Zaire, Gretchen and her husband taught at the Harvard School of Public Health. Their lifetime of service to humanity has been honored with an impressive list of awards, including one received at a White House ceremony, and perhaps their most memorable honor, the International Health Award that was presented to the Berggrens personally by Mother Teresa. The last two alumni I want to visit with you about come from the profession Chadron State College was created to serve, teachers. The first of these two was a 1974 graduate of Chadron State. He played basketball for the Eagles and earned a degree in business education with a coaching endorsement. After graduating, he spent 25 years teaching business and coaching softball, basketball, track, and baseball at the same high school. He was just an ordinary, dedicated teacher and coach, the kind that many of us have had the good fortune to come across during our years in school. Although you may not know his name, all of you have heard of this ordinary teacher. That's because on April 20th, 1999, this CSC alum, Dave Sanders, responded in an extraordinary way to the horror thrust upon his school, Columbine High School in Littleton, Colorado. Before he was murdered along with 12 students in the Columbine shooting, Dave was credited with saving the lives of up to 200 students. Instead of seeking cover when he became aware of the gunman, he ran to the cafeteria and evacuated the lunchroom full of students. Then again, instead of running to safety, he went to a different part of the school and led more students to safety before he was fatally shot. Dave Sanders is a true American hero. Few people are tested in their professions as he was, and fewer still would have responded as Dave did. When ESPN announced they were presenting Coach Sanders with the prestigious Arthur Ashe Award for Courage during their annual nationally televised ESPY Award show on Valentine's Day 2000, ESPN executive editor John Walsh was quoted as saying, "Dave Sanders showed everyone around him throughout his life what sports should be, and then he showed the world what real courage is all about when he gave his life for his students." The second teacher and final alum I want to talk to you about has lived a life most of us can relate to. The path she took in her life is probably similar to the one many of you will take. In fact, like you, Cheryl Adamson Ravenscroft was a December graduate. She received her elementary education degree from CSC in 1971. As I'm sure the education degree graduates in this class are aware, the number of teaching position openings this time of year are very limited. As fate would have it, one of those rare midterm openings was available in Cheryl's hometown of Valentine, Nebraska. Moving back home was not a problem for Cheryl. A love of family and respect for education, ranching, and civic service were values instilled in Cheryl by her parents, Alvin and Mabel Adamson. Alvin was a prominent rancher in Cherry County in the heart of the Nebraska Sandhills. He also served as a state senator in the Nebraska unicameral. These responsibilities resulted in Cheryl alternating schools between Lincoln and Valentine, so she had already experienced life away from her hometown. Cheryl settled into her new job and planned on spending her career educating the future citizens of Cherry County. But that only lasted a year and a half. John Ravenscroft, a classmate of Sharon's at Valentine High School, returned from serving in the Vietnam War shortly after she moved back to Valentine. Cheryl admits she never really noticed John in high school, partly because she was splitting time between Lincoln and Valentine. But he got her attention when they both moved back home. So Cheryl traded her teaching job for a full-time position as ranch wife and mom. As is common in ranch country, when children reach high school age, mom and the kids move to town. Cheryl took advantage of this opportunity to resume her teaching career. She spent the next 10 years teaching elementary students, serving on the school board and other civic and political organizations, and getting her 3 sons through high school. At that point, the ranch beckoned again. This time she had grandmother duties to fulfill and a new project, helping John develop an organically certified herd of cattle on the 3 Bar Cattle Company ranch. But this time her retirement from teaching lasted only 7 years. This past summer, as the school year was fast approaching, Taylor Lake School, a 1-room schoolhouse near her ranch, was not able to find a teacher for their 9 students. The next closest school for these students was 20 miles away. Cheryl answered the call and unretired. Once again, she is doing what all teachers do, quietly educating the next generation one day at a time. Cheryl will probably never be famous, but she certainly is the type of CSC alum we can all aspire to be. It is Chadron State graduates like Cheryl Ravenscroft that keep the communities in our part of the world functioning. Graduates from CSC are more likely to stay in this region to be the business person, teacher, police officer, rancher, or medical professional that are essential in keeping our way of life alive. I hope these few examples of Chadron State College alumni give you some idea of why you should be proud to now be called a CSC alum. There is one more thing I would like to discuss with you before I close. I want to take this opportunity to share with you some details of Chadron State Foundation's first national comprehensive fundraising campaign. We are 3 years into the 5-year campaign called Vision 2011. Our goal is to successfully complete this campaign to raise $11 million by Chadron State's centennial celebration in 2011. Under the leadership of CSC President Dr. Janie Park and the Executive Director of the Foundation, Connie Rasmussen, we have raised over $8.6 million to this point. While that is wonderful progress, it is important to understand most of those dollars are in the form of endowments. This is a major boost to our scholarship program, but it does not give us dollars for immediate needs. One of the pieces of this fundraising campaign in need of immediate dollars is the very building in which we are gathered this evening. The Armstrong Gymnasium was a wonderful building when it was finished in 1963, but that was 46 years ago, and that was prior to the introduction of women's athletics. So we are working hard to raise $2 million towards the renovation and a major addition to this building. That amount of money will give us the ability to move to the next stage in the process, which is to request the rest of the funding to complete this project from the Nebraska State Legislature. The Foundation Board of Directors believes strongly that too often the students in this end of the state are asked to make do with less than those students in other sections of the state. We think it is time for students in this region to be provided with the facilities they deserve. Now, I realize that a graduating class of college students is the last place a fundraiser should go to ask for donations. there is probably nowhere else you will find a larger group of people who have pretty much exhausted all of their funds. Am I right, graduates? But one thing you can do is to provide your verbal support in a couple of years when we go to the Nebraska legislature for the funding of the 2 capital construction parts of Vision 2011 campaign. Of course, if any of you graduates have parents looking for a tax write-off, or maybe have a rich uncle, I know someone at the Chadron State Foundation office who would be thrilled to visit with them. With that, graduates of December 2009, let me again congratulate you. You don't have to be a corporate lawyer or the next Albert Schweitzer to make us proud that you are Chadron State College graduates. Just use your degrees to create worthy lives and work to make your communities the best they can be. That will do. Thank you.